The only gift my husband had for my 30th birthday was divorce papers. But by the end of the day, I would be the one giving him a present he'd truly never forget. The smell of pancakes and freshly brewed coffee woke me up. It was my 30th birthday, and my husband, Mark, had been promising a surprise for weeks. He was usually a terrible liar, his tells as obvious as a neon sign, but this time, he'd been a vault. A smirk here, "you'll see," there, was all I could get out of him. I stretched, a smile already on my face. We'd been together for 10 years, married for 7, and he still found ways to make me feel like the only woman in the world. I walked into the kitchen to find him flipping a pancake with a flourish. A single perfect red rose sat in a slender vase on the table next to a steaming mug of my favorite coffee. "Happy birthday, my love," he said, turning to kiss me. His kiss was warm, familiar, and felt like home. I melted into it, thinking about what the surprise could be. I'd been guessing for weeks. A trip to Paris? We'd always talked about it. A puppy? I'd been dropping hints for months. Whatever it was, I knew it would be perfect because it was from him. After breakfast, he sat me down on the couch. His eyes were twinkling, but there was something else there, too. A nervousness I hadn't seen before. "Okay, close your eyes," he said, his voice laced with excitement. I did as I was told, my heart thumping a little faster. I heard the rustle of paper, the soft clink of something being placed on the coffee table. "All right, you can open them." My eyes fluttered open to see a sleek, cream-colored envelope resting on the table. It wasn't a travel agent's brochure or a breeder's certificate. It was just a plain, formal-looking envelope with my name typed on the front. I looked at him, confused. "It's not the whole gift," he said quickly. "It's the first part, the key to the rest of it." My mind raced. Maybe it was a deed? A key to a new car? My fingers trembled slightly as I picked it up. The paper was heavy, expensive. I slid my finger under the seal and pulled out the folded documents inside. I unfolded the first page, my eyes scanning for clues. And then I saw the words at the top, printed in stark, official-looking font. "Petition for dissolution of marriage." The air left my lungs in a single, silent whoosh. The room started to spin, the smell of pancakes turning sour in my stomach. I looked up at Mark, my brain refusing to process what my eyes were seeing. This had to be a joke, a sick, twisted, horrible joke. "Mark," I whispered, my voice a stranger's, "what is this?" His face, the one that had been smiling so lovingly just moments ago, was a cold, unreadable mask. The twinkle in his eyes was gone, replaced by a flat, detached pity. "I think it's pretty self-explanatory, Clara," he said, his tone clipped and businesslike. "I'm leaving you. I wanted to do it on a day that would be memorable. So you'd understand how serious I am." The world tilted. Memorable? He was serving me divorce papers as my 30th birthday present. The cruelty of it was breathtaking. "Why?" was all I could manage to get out, the words scratching my throat. He sighed as if my question was a massive inconvenience. "We've grown apart. I'm not happy. I haven't been for a long time." He stood up and walked over to the hallway closet, pulling out a suitcase that was already packed. "I've met someone else," he added, not even looking at me. "We're in love. We're starting a new life together." Each word was a physical blow. Someone else. A new life. Our 10 years together, erased in a single rehearsed speech. Tears started to stream down my face, hot and silent. He was a stranger. This man zipping up his suitcase, avoiding my gaze, was a complete stranger. "I hope you can be adult about this," he said, walking to the door. My lawyer will be in touch with yours. All my things will be picked up next week." He paused at the door, his hand on the knob, and finally looked at me. There was no remorse, no sadness, just impatience. "Oh, and for what it's worth," he said with a small, smug smile, "her name is Jessica, and she's pregnant. We're having a baby." He closed the door behind him, the click of the lock echoing in the sudden, deafening silence. The shock was a tidal wave, pulling me under. A baby. He was leaving me for a pregnant woman. The pain was so immense I thought it might actually split me in two. I sat there, clutching the divorce papers, my world in ashes around me. But then, as my tears started to dry, a new feeling began to bubble up through the grief and the shock. A cold, hard clarity. He'd said her name, Jessica. And then a specific, chilling detail he'd mentioned weeks ago during a casual conversation about his work suddenly slammed into my memory. Jessica. From the accounting department. Jessica Riley. A slow, dangerous smile spread across my face. "Oh, Mark, you poor, stupid fool. You gave your pregnant new girlfriend's name to the one person in the world who knows her deepest, darkest secret. The secret I'm sure she never told you. The secret that's about to turn your perfect new life into a living nightmare. You wanted my birthday to be memorable? Don't worry. You're about to get a gift from me that you will never, ever forget." For a long time, I just sat there. The silence in the apartment was a living thing, pressing in on me, broken only by the hum of the refrigerator and the frantic beating of my own heart. The perfect red rose Mark had given me was already starting to droop, its petals curling inward like a fist. Cold pancakes congealed on the plate. My birthday breakfast. My executioner's last meal. The initial tidal wave of pain receded, leaving behind a frozen, desolate landscape. And in that icy stillness, the rage began to burn. Jessica Riley. The name echoed in my mind. It wasn't just a name. It was a face, a memory, a story I had filed away under sad, but not my problem. Until now. Now it was everything. A couple of years ago, my best friend Sarah was finishing her OB/GYN residency. She'd come over one night utterly drained and vented about a tragic case she'd assisted on. She never used names, of course, but the details were seared into my brain. A young woman, early 20s, with a ruptured ectopic pregnancy so severe it almost killed her. They'd had to perform an emergency hysterectomy to save her life. No uterus. No more chances to carry a child, ever. A few months later, at Mark's annual holiday party, he introduced me to a new hire in accounting. "Clara, this is Jessica Riley." She was bright, bubbly, and seemed to hang on Mark's every word. Later in the evening, I found her alone on the balcony, looking uncharacteristically somber. We made small talk, and I noticed a faint, pale scar just above the neckline of her dress. On a whim, I complimented a photo she had on her phone of a cute nephew. Her smile was brittle. "He's my sister's," she'd said, a shadow crossing her face. "I'll never be that lucky. It's just not in the cards for me." The puzzle pieces clicked into place. The scar, the sadness, the initials, JR. I felt a pang of sympathy for her then. Now that sympathy had curdled into a weapon. Pregnant? Jessica Riley was not pregnant. She could not be pregnant. Mark hadn't just left me. He'd left me for a lie. A carefully constructed, monstrous lie. He had thrown away our 10 years for a fantasy she had sold him. My fingers, no longer trembling, moved with purpose across my phone screen. I found Sarah's number and hit dial. She picked up on the second ring, her voice cheerful. "Happy birthday. Got any amazing plans?" "Sarah, I need to ask you something," I said, my voice flat and cold. "And I need you to be honest with me. This is not a drill. My life has just been detonated." I told her everything. The papers, the affair, the name. Jessica Riley. I finished with the one question that mattered. The patient from a few years ago, the ectopic pregnancy, the hysterectomy. Was it her? There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I could hear the ethical gears turning in her head. "Clara, I can't—" Patient confidentiality. "Sarah," I cut her off, my voice dangerously quiet. "My husband just served me divorce papers for my 30th birthday because he knocked up a woman who I think is physically incapable of being pregnant. He's about to blow up his entire life, and ours for a lie. I'm not asking for her medical records. I'm asking you if my memory is correct. Just a yes or a no, please." Another stretch of silence, then a soft, resigned sigh. "Yes, Clara, your memory is correct. Full hysterectomy. There is a 0% chance she could be carrying a child." The confirmation settled in my bones, not with relief, but with a chilling certainty. "Thank you," I whispered, and hung up. I stood up and walked over to the mirror in the hallway. The woman staring back was a stranger. Her face was pale, her eyes were red, but behind the grief was a glint of steel I hadn't seen before. Mark wanted a memorable birthday? He wanted to be an adult about this? Fine. We'd be adults. I would let him live in his perfect, happy little fantasy world for just a little while longer. I wouldn't call him. I wouldn't text him. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of a screaming match. I'd let him think he'd gotten away with it, that I was just a crumpled, crying mess he'd left behind. I opened up my laptop. It only took me 5 minutes of scrolling through the public Instagram profile of one of Jessica's friends to find it. A picture posted just last night. It was Mark and Jessica, beaming, surrounded by friends. He had his hand placed protectively on her stomach, which had the slightest hint of a bump. Probably a well-placed pillow. They were holding up a small chalkboard. The caption was sickeningly cheerful. "We can't wait to meet our little man. Join us for our gender reveal party. Saturday the 24th at Mark's parents' house." His parents' house. He was taking this lie, this fraud, to his own family home. A cold, wicked smile touched my lips for the first time that day. A party, an audience. It was more perfect than I could have ever planned. I screenshotted the invitation. I already knew what gift I was going to bring. It wasn't something you could wrap, but I had a feeling it was going to be the talk of the party. "Mark, you wanted memorable? I'm going to give you a gender reveal you'll be telling your grandchildren about, assuming you ever have any." The week leading up to the party was the longest of my life. I went through the motions, packing Mark's things into boxes with a cold, methodical precision he would have admired. I contacted a divorce lawyer, a shark my friend Sarah recommended, and laid out the situation. She listened intently, her expression hardening with every detail. "Let him have his party," she'd said, a predatory gleam in her eye. "Then we'll strike." For me, it was like living in the calm eye of a hurricane. The devastation was all around me, but inside I was eerily focused. I ate, I slept, I went to work, and I planned. Saturday arrived, a bright sunny day that felt like a mockery of my mood. I chose my outfit carefully, a simple, elegant black dress. Morning attire, I thought wryly. I didn't need to look heartbroken. I needed to look like a woman who had been wronged but was very much in control. I drove to Mark's parents' house, a place where I'd celebrated holidays and birthdays for a decade, feeling like an intruder. My heart pounded a steady, angry rhythm against my ribs. I let myself in through the back gate, knowing the party would be in the garden. And there it was. A sea of pink and blue balloons, a banner that screamed, "He or she, come and see," and about 30 people milling around, drinks in hand. I saw Mark's parents, smiling and accepting congratulations. My stomach churned. They were good people. They didn't deserve this. Then I saw them. Mark was standing by the barbecue, his arm wrapped possessively around Jessica. She was wearing a flowing white sundress, and from this distance, you could almost believe the slight, artificial curve of her belly was real. He looked happy, blissfully, ignorantly happy. My presence was like a stone dropped into a placid pond. A ripple of whispers started as heads turned. Mark's smile froze on his face when he saw me. His mother, Carol, rushed over, her face a mask of confusion and concern. "Clara, honey, what are you doing here?" "I'm still part of this family, aren't I, Carol?" I said softly, my voice carrying just enough for those nearby to hear. "At least for a little while longer. I heard you were celebrating. I couldn't miss it." Mark strode over, his face thunderous. Jessica trailed behind him, looking pale. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he hissed, grabbing my arm. I pulled away from him calmly. "Don't touch me, Mark." I looked past him to Jessica, offering her a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Jessica, you look glowing. Pregnancy really suits you." She flinched. "You shouldn't be here," she stammered. "Oh, but I should," I said, my voice rising to project across the now silent garden. "You see, I brought a gift for the happy couple, for the baby." All eyes were on us now. Mark's father looked bewildered. Friends shuffled their feet awkwardly. "Mark, you've always said I'm a terrible liar," I began, looking straight at him. "My face gives everything away. It's funny because it turns out you're terrible at spotting lies, especially big ones." "Clara, stop it," he warned, his voice low and threatening. "No, I don't think I will," I said, my voice ringing with a newfound strength. I turned to his parents. "Carol, David, I'm so sorry to do this here, but your son is about to make the biggest mistake of his life, and he's basing it on a complete and utter fraud." I pulled a folded piece of paper from my clutch purse. It wasn't a medical record. That would be illegal. It was a printout of an anonymized medical case study Sarah had helped me find online from a reputable medical journal, detailing the life-saving emergency hysterectomy of a 23-year-old female JR, following a ruptured ectopic pregnancy in our city 2 years ago. "Jessica," I said, my voice now laced with ice, "why don't you tell everyone about the surgery you had 2 years ago, the one that saved your life but made it biologically impossible for you to ever carry a child? Why don't you tell Mark's family, all these friends, that there is no baby, that this," I gestured to her stomach, "is nothing but a pillow and a lie you constructed to trap a man who was stupid enough to throw away 10 years of his life for you?" The silence was absolute. Jessica's face had gone from pale to a ghastly, waxy white. She looked at Mark, her eyes wide with terror, unable to form a single word. Mark just stared at her, then at the paper in my hand, then back at her stomach. The dawning horror on his face was everything I had hoped for. The smug confidence, the pity, the cruelty, it all melted away, replaced by the raw, ugly realization that he had been played for a fool. "Is this true?" he whispered, his voice cracking. Jessica started to sob, a pathetic gulping sound that confirmed everything. That was my cue. I placed the printed case study on a nearby table. "Happy gender reveal," I said, my voice clear and steady. I turned and walked away, not looking back. I didn't need to see the fallout, the screaming matches, the shame. I could feel the implosion behind me as I walked through the house and out the front door. The sound of the door clicking shut behind me was the sweetest sound I had ever heard. It wasn't just the end of my marriage, it was the beginning of my freedom. He wanted a memorable birthday? He got one. He wanted a new life? He got one. Just not the one he was expecting. And as for me, I had paid him back in full, and I didn't regret a single glorious second of it.